So in this section, we're going to finalize the texture and then we will deal with rendering in the next chapter. I will use different alphas and decals that I put together in the project file and I will tell you how to use them. Go to the alphas folder and drag them to the Substance shelf. Set the format to alpha and import them in the Substance library because every time you open it, you can use these alphas in your project. For the next folder, you can add the decals to the Substance. You have 8 textures and 8 alphas that I will explain to you in detail. When you drag into the Substance, you must import the alphas in alpha format and the textures in texture format. You can create a paint layer for testing and make sure if you choose texture 2, you must also use alpha 2 to create that texture completely on your model. Drag the texture into the base color and drag the alpha into the alpha section of the brush you're using. It's so easy to work with. Now we can undo that and I'm going to create a new layer and give it a black mask and active only the height channel and bring it down a little bit. Now we can browse through the alphas you imported and use whichever one best suits your needs. I'm using these for the buckles. You can add as many as you want, but be careful not to overdo it. Put the layer on top of all the layers so you can use it in all the materials. For the head belt part, I want to create a logo and add it to it. I'm going to create a new layer and keep the color white. You can manually write the label you need in Photoshop or you can download it from the internet. Open Photoshop and create a new file with 1:1 resolution. Then type the word you want and then change the color to white. I'm also going to set the background color to black because Substance removes the black color and we can use white as alpha. Export the file in the project and drag it into Substance and import it as alpha. Now if you double click on this alpha on the layer mask, you can paint on the model and be sure to select the soft brush before. After painting, I will change the roughness a little and make it darker to match the original texture more. We can also give it height so that it stand out like a logo. And then I will add a paint layer and ears a little of the edges of the words with a random brush to give it an older look. Or you can use fill layer in mask and use a grunge to filter it. Both work perfectly. Okay, we'll complete the mask for now. For the gloves, I'm going to change the color to brown. This way it will create a better balance with the character. The dirt layer affects the gloves a lot and I will manually remove some parts with the paint layer because the color of this dirt layer is too light and doesn't match this glove very well. For the color variation, I will use more of a leather noise layer so that I can have more color variation. I'll reduce the scale and put it on the triplanar projection. Now I will change the color to brown and increase the contrast a little. Now base color of the gloves isn't uniform and there is a little variation. As you can see, the roughness that this layer added was able to create a very nice aspect. For the next layer, we can use the alphas that we imported to add a series of screws to the gloves. And for the plastic parts on the hand, we can use a similar alphas to have better detail. We can also create a layer for modern lines and easily paint the lines with a brush. No need for alphas, just paint a series of sci-fi lines with a soft brush. You can use reference to get more interesting results. And for the next layer, I use a gun edge mask to mask the edges of the plastic. Now we can increase the roughness a little and change the color to gray so that the edges are clearly visible. I will also add a little alpha for the boots so that it has more complete detail. You can use the same height layer that you created. For the front of the boot, I will choose a black color so that it isn't uniform everywhere, and I will manually make the back of the boot black as well. You can paint it manually with paint layer. And if you feel that the dirt layer is having too much of an impact here, you can manually delete it. Just use dirt brush and easily unmask them. The first material is complete and we can go to the second material. I will reduce the opacity of military pattern on the clothes a little bit and I'll make the color of the clothes closer to navy blue. Create a layer for stitching and this time want to use double line stitch according to the reference I have because I feel like it will give a better result this way. You just need to place them on stitch lines you made in ZBrush and make the stitches evenly. For the tablet strap, I want to add a strips pattern to make it stand out from the normal look. I want the arm guard patterns to have a more metallic and shiny look, so I will add a layer and manually paint the mask so that some parts of it will randomly include this noise. I will also add more noise to the leather and plastic to create more breakdown in the roughness, and for the height we can reduce the amount a little to give the leather more old look. I also use a mask for the edges of the plastic to change the color a bit so it's not all the same. For the logo we made in Photoshop, we can reuse it and place it on this armor. This logo is actually the sample of the special police unit, and it can usually be seen in several places on the clothing or character. I really like this leather flasher, and I wanna add a little more variation to them, like scratches and dirt. You can also add a couple of stickers to them to give them a more natural look. Stickers can bring your model to life and tell a story, and the viewer will get a more natural feeling from your character, so add them wherever it makes sense. For the tablet texture, I have prepared a file for you that you can access and just import it as a texture. Now create a layer and place the texture in the base channel. Create a mask and assign it to the monitor area using ID map. Now to make it more better, you can go into the 2D screen and manually make the texture smaller and fix it exactly with the UV part of the tablet, and even rotate it if needed. The next step that can make this tablet more alive is adding details and alphas, so that the alphas you add are not exactly the color of the tablet. You can give them a color and roughness to their layers separately so that they look a little different and not everything looks the same. You can also add these alphas in ZBrush, and when you bake you would have better curvature and shadow for these details, but I prefer to add a series of details in Substance for speed up my workflow. For other tablet screens, you can use the project file, or if you download an image from the internet you can put it, no problem. Just try to make the image not too bright and also match the character style well. You can add a lot of more details, just take help from real references and see how they are made and what details make them look cool.